everything in between.
The Jackson Fool.
The Jackson,
And the Simple Tool.
the Fump, the Jackson Bump.
The Jackson Pollock. And the Jackson 5.
So, is
And
he
the
ready?
Andrew.
All right.
Who, thank God, is no longer alive.
Okay, well, we're ready as soon as you're ready.
I just got
This is going. All right.
And the Jackson Brown and the Jackson White. And please get started before the end of the night.
I saw him live once, I
Who?
think.
Dead or alive?
I think I saw him live once.
Dead or alive?
I mean, people said that was him, but I was way back in the
You're
crowd, and I
right,
didn't.
okay.
I had never heard him before, so I believe I did see him, but didn't
A
know
little bit
anything.
forward so I can get behind you and see you.
I thought he was a local.
And so
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give these pairs a round of applause. The Sandra kicking up, sticking head. And the last word enters and exits the program as we know it.
all right. As I like to say, just because you steal something doesn't mean you own it. So remember, this is still Indian country, and in particular, the lands you live on now are the Ohlone people. And yes, they still are here, so if you really want to join the struggle, talk to them. If not, go shopping. All right, a man. A man without a past, present, future lives in an empire that erases him from his humanity. Empire wants, and what it wants it gets. What else do empires do but screw everybody things? Empire gains pleasure from eating resources, lands, murdering red, brown, yellow, black people for what they have, creating prisons called cities while it exports lies about itself. Man stands against society, civilization that is anything but social, civil. Man's beloved stands confused whether to believe anything anyone tells. So many lies, tough to sort through. Priest tells his supposed flock that as long as they realize that all comes from God, it's okay to do what we do to the earth. So carte blanche to raping, plundering, defiling the mother, taking from her what we want, never giving back, nourishing her. But then again, we rarely do that with each other. See what the black robes did to the natives from lands of the condor and eagle. Remember the claim of right of discovery. Really? And they've gotten away with it until now. As all empires rise, fall, smell of death is detected. Rancid air envelops until after a while no longer smells. A man of USA, a man whose life has no past, future, or nada of now. A man who exists, signifying nothing. Six. Man dies, passes your choice. When he does, he's left in sitting position. Tattoos, flesh gone, skeletal remains. Like mountains will wear down from wind, rains, becomes fine sand, building block for new life. Or perhaps a meal nourishing fauna from flesh to marrow, where if any bones left for millennia. Man's skeletal remains watch the sun, moon rises, storms washing in from seas over lands. Man sits. All right. And the last piece is the elk drum. drum made of elk by Jemez man, Pueblo man, George Toya, where after elk is sacrificed for the people, all things related are used, therefore the drum. Drum made from sacred turned into the sacred drum. Yes. Yes, the sacred drum. The drum, the heartbeat of the people. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back to close out the second show. David and David Erdreich as the co-authors. And now we have Buford Bunyan come up and around. We got Sharon, then David, then Rob, then David. Oh, David Z, then Rob, then David E. There's two Davids. David and the other David. You get to decide which is which, because I can't tell the difference between nobody and no-how. I don't know nothing about birth and no babies.
Twains. We're Twain.
Twains. There we go. Let me just get you started there, dear.
All right.
All right, you're good. Go. You're good to go.
Ceremony. Sitting at the front rail at the high school football stands, the boy with black dots on his red underpants gets up and walks with his friend out of my view. A group performs with Mayan-looking headdresses, fleeing incense out of decanters on the football field during the blue-skied ceremony. Kay, a Down syndrome student, appears on the front row of chairs on the field, having accomplished sitting for an hour, quite a feat for her, as she usually stands and rocks back and forth in our classroom. She's almost escorted onto the outdoor stage-like platform, but appears too overwhelmed by all the attention and maybe 1,000 people watching, and decides to sit out, going to get her certificate of completion, which is given to her later in private. Her escort and paraprofessional is sorely disappointed.
Nice. That would be you. Thank you. Admirable so-and-so, general privacy, corporal punishment. None of them are here, so Sharon Scott Kish is going to come up. Huh?
Sergeant Flea Caller.
Flea Caller. Sharon Scott Kish. And then David Z. You're going to have your block of time there, buddy. You're good. You're ready to go. All right. And Sharon, how are you tonight?
Wonderful.
Really?
Hey, Sharon!
Did you listen to the news today?
No, I tried not to.
That's good. That's very
But you know
bad.
how I am.
All right.
Last time I was down south, I walked into this restaurant, and this white waitress came up to me and said, "We don't serve colored people here." I said, "That's all right. I don't eat colored people. Bring me a whole fried chicken." That's from Dick Gregory. And I chose the theme. This is Elks Parade. First Friday of the month had always been a special day for my grandfather. Most of the men in the neighborhood, it was the meeting. I mean the meeting, lodge meeting. Many things took place on this day, but this meeting was the highlight. Usual rituals took place. Insurance salesman visit to collect the premiums. Paper boy to be paid. Stop off, pay the local merchants their bills. Dry cleaning picked up. It was the preparation that was the highlight of the evening, not to mention the meal. Usually it was a fish fry to be shared with neighbors, and of course the insurance man. But only he and my grandpa shared the nip. Well, only one in the first, in front of my grandmother. Usually it was another 2 or 3 after she left the room. Shh. To me, and it was a wink from the two of them. Men at the table, napkins in place, blessing for the food, and dig in. Catfish, coleslaw, tomatoes in summer, corn on the cob, fried potatoes with onions in bacon grease, and of course, hoe cake, which is really a cornbread batter. Fried hoe cake was the custom of the field workers taking batter to the fields so they wouldn't have to stop to work. They would take a large hoe and fry the batter on it. So it was said good people didn't eat cornbread, but a lot of people ate cornbread, and they ate seconds with lots of butter. Fast as it came out of the pan, gone. Don't forget the iced tea or lemonade in summer, green onions in a glass of ice water, sliced tomatoes and vinegar with cucumbers. The fish was always the constant. Vegetables could be changed with the season. Once nothing but the butts, and only the bones left. Time for dessert. Maybe a piece of pound cake with berries, or fried pies made with, from a woman who didn't drink, fried pies made with brandied peaches. Burn. All around. Maybe watch the Friday night fights. Look sharp, be sharp. Gillette blades. Have a beer from the land of sky blue waters. Hams. Time to get ready for the meeting. Crisp shirt, elk's tooth cufflinks, top drawer. Tie class with elk's tooth, top drawer. Special pouch. Fez, apron, gloves, and sash. Pin on lapel, out the door. Oops, final warning. No drunken behavior. Yeah, right. Off to the Prince Hall, named after the founder of the Negro Masons Order. All orders of business, deaths, illness, news from other lodges. Now time for the current agenda. Plans have been in the wings for a parade. Anniversary of the lodge coming up. Big event. Plenty of sponsors from community. Realtors, morticians, doctors, attorneys, businesses, churches. This is big. Need to invite out-of-town lodges. Police department is on board. 18th and Vine too. Must include 12th Street. Food stands along the way. Merchants and fellow members will take care of it. Don't forget the tamale guys. They take care of us late at night. List. Let's not forget the ladies. We want them right behind us. Days approach, preparations are in gear. Women have several meetings. White uniforms are starched, bleached, gloves, shoes polished, sashes ironed. Ready, hair appointment set. Some of the women are quite old, 90s and 80s, not ready, not really walking that well, but they wouldn't miss this grand chance to march with pride. Digging back in closets and dressers, looking under lavender sachets, pulling out corsets, yellow gloves to be bleached. Mrs. Turnbull needs help, some help. Women go to her house to see what they can do. Now, mind you, she was born in 1856, so she is 90. They suggest she ride in one of the cars, but no, she wants to march. So does her cousin, who is 87. This is not going to be easy, especially since she has a bad hip. Day of the parade, phone calls made, arrangements in order. Pick up the old men and women, take them to the lodge hall. Line everyone up, band in front. Now, some of these men in the band are also very old. Retired jazzmen, not standing too straight. It is also very hot. Police in front of the line, group is reeking of Old Spice, cashmere bouquet, and lilac. Off they start. Kids waving flag, foods smelling, wafting from the sidewalk. Old women starting to sweat. So are the old men. Mrs. King is getting a little faint. Out comes the smelling salts. She is getting fanned with a fan supplied by Watkin Brother Mortuary. Uh-oh, Mr. Talbot is feeling a little woozy. Pull him off to the side, set his trumpet on the curb. Something is going on in back. Miss Turnbull has broken the heel on her shoe, and she's sitting on the curb, and her cousin is next to her. This is all going downhill fast. Finally, the parade is at the end of the route. People are falling apart. Back to the club, put everything away. Back to 18th and Vine, drinks on all, who are still standing. Whew. Back home, grandfather asks my grandmother Eva how she enjoyed the parade. She says, "Let me tell you one thing, mister. I am never marching with that cane brigade again." And she didn't.
Thank you. David Z, come on up, please. He's a surprise mini feature this evening, so he'll be doing a little extra. And then David, the scheduled mini will come after Rob, who's after this man here.
So Rob is between us?
No. Rob is David Z, then Rob, then you.
Okay, thank you all. I will use this mini feature for a mini book launch. I've been working on this for several years with my sidekick Livia, who's a long-time Bay Area painter. She did all the images, I did the poems. We're working with Poetry Flash to do a real book launch. You won't have to come to it because I'll be reading most of the poems tonight. But we want to find a venue where we can project the image that accompanies the poem that the poem will be reading. So we'll be doing this with Joe Slusky, who's the artist here in Berkeley, and Alan Broomer, who's the poet. He's living down in LA. So we hope to get that together. And I have copies of the book here if anybody wants it. So I was hoping to find a little piece of that beautiful planet that Dan read us about earlier today. So let me put on my poetry goggles. Okay. The beginning. Even the smallest thing has a beginning I can't find. I hear music, but I can't find how it started without you. A pale taste of moonlight on your lips. Thank you. You can hold all your applause. Rain and honey. Lovers kissed the rain-filled caldera that rose to the sky and vanished in a paroxysm of magma, blood, and starlight. Rain piles roses on the queen who lightly touches wind all night and longs for her dark warrior to pour honey on her fingers. Slowly filling. The long dead lake is slowly filling. My heart is driverless while I gasp for breath in your arms. I find no record anywhere, no journal entry, only endless memories, empty as my life without you. Sunshine seeps from your eyes onto my fingers. I kiss you everywhere, not already glowing. I say your name to the new lake event horizon. Ever swiftly, my thoughts spiral into your heart. The Silk Road String Quartet. Masked gunmen fall like raindrops on the hard-packed soil. Open the earth for flowers who whisper overnight to birds and dandelions, drawing glassine borders on the map room physiography. Naming all the robot music heard by aged traders on the Silk Road gravity slingshot. Piano, bass, and drums condense into whole galaxies of jazz whose dancing angels dream of ice. The winter sky hums a few more stars. Gateway. I danced to the gateway but lost my way. I was so sad I never looked down at the animal eating all the time that ever was, or the flower pushing the sky back into my memory. Morning sunshine. Morning sunshine is too small for the spaceship calling your name to every planet it passes. Only one snowflake knows your name. I'm stunned every time I have to say, it's beautiful, but not this one. I stroke your gentle skin, wrap a vast dream around a child, and laugh all night. Your smile opens a book I read over and over. I draw one line on one of its pure white pages, and it tells me a story beginning with your panting breath. Once I crawled across the path and became an antelope, maybe an elk tonight, leaping so far away, I wonder how I could ever find my way back to you. But I know the morning sun shines always on this stone that warms the palm of my hand. I've heard your breathing so many times. My heart is an empty bottle only you can fill with rain and honey.
Very nice.
Down to the sea. The sun climbs out of tumbling waves at the bottom of the gorge, where we wake together, weaving tree branches into a dream we forget piece by piece. The sweetness trickles slowly, deliberately, over mossy rocks into tiny pools we each touch with our fingertips and gently brush our lips with its memory that never vanishes. Infinite scene space. The sand opens its mouth for your feet, and the fluttering waves spit out the ring. Is this a myth or another Valkyrie under the bathroom sink? Messages at the water's edge say the radio has no signal, no known source, but the music sends a storm of sand whirling into blackness where no wing grabs the air. Tumbling out of control, I reach for your slender waist. So happy to be in your arms, the curtain falls with a thud in Vienna or Stockholm, where silent raindrops patter a coded ovation on the umbrella of time. The one I found in the book. Yeah. I pound on the glass door until a green globule enters my eye and shows me an Ouroboros journey in the encrypted rain. Falling silent and slow, in some other land I brush over and over with outstretched gentle fingers, stoking the keyboard into motionless dances of passion, wondering where is the next slash and rip, the torn up image fluttering down to the sand that heals us with its mysterious painted lips. The Blue Lake was not where we left it. Maybe it's with your umbrella. We got no sleep last night. No one here to dream a fascist radio interview between detonations and bloody debris. Never once sleeping, the hungry rose petals live without you. Scrape colors off the flying canvas. Show your new story from an ancient mountain. Slowly from your wound drips the Milky Way. Looking for myths, the wind blows slowly in the wounded starlight. The last word of your story, in the morning, heard by angels.
So you got one more, is that all right?
I have one more minute.
Yeah. Right.
Warmest moment. Did the magnet imagine a momentary tree spinning particles of hunger? The rock was a lifetime journey to find certainty, that tiny space inside a magnet where there is no past. Time is the dust behind right now. It's too easy to say time is the black moment because all colors have fled your warm lips and left me swimming madly for the tiny moving dot in the sky they say is your heart. A bright window. A gigantic raindrop falls like the lid on a pot of soup that's never done. Across the border, the stadium has emptied of mothers and children, feeding the breast that looms from your nightgown like a fire engine leaving the station with no one aboard. The creature I dreamt of wonders why I'm on every planet the sun shines, holding you tight to a bright window. And this is the last one. Your erotic cries. Your erotic cries are 1,000 hot kisses in 1,000 atoms of my heart. My fingers brush your labia like wind prepares the sky for a starry night. 1,000 times I woke with you, 1,000 times the stone walls remember smoke. Thank you.
See him about the book. He has that. And I'm going to chip in with Rob a little bit here. He asked me to do something special. Rob.
First.
Okay, I have my lines right here. I hope I do them. I hope I do you justice.
This is called Ice. An open heart nobody needs. A wasting wound that ever bleeds. I've spent my life perfect and ready. No one's perfect? Bullshit, Freddie. That's a crock of anti-humanism, a schlock of self-loathing jism, for I am exactly as I ought be, or would be if life hadn't maimed both of we. I've selfish shallowness, sure, that's true, but ever was I primed to leap over or through, to find someone in nurturant celebration and never bind them to my expectation. Ready, always ready, lonely, always lonely. A testament to the truism of alienation only. Oh, there were moments, a flash of brilliance or three, but always deep down, thin ice below we. Never manipulate, ever alone. A forlorn stray without a bone. A wasting wound that ever bleeds. An open heart nobody needs. Now, last week I overheard someone at this open mic singing a few strains of a Randy Newman song, and I said, my gosh, I actually know how to play that one. So I thought, what would be more appropriate than force that little idle hummer to join me in this performance.
I have a very small part.
Short people got no reason, short people got no reason, short people got no reason to live. They got little hands and little eyes. They walk around telling great big lies. They got little noses and tiny little teeth. They wear platform shoes on their nasty little feet. Well, I don't want no short people. Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people round here. Short people are just the same as you and I.
A fool such as I.
All people are lovers until the day we die.
It's a wonderful world.
Short people got nobody. Short people got nobody. Short people got nobody to love. They got little baby legs that stand so low. You gotta pick them up just to say hello. They got little cars that go beep, 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 and tiny little voices going beep, beep, beep. Grubby little fingers and dirty little minds. They're gonna get you every time. Well, I don't want no short people. Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people round here. Where's Alan Calvin Harris when you need him.
There you go. We'll appreciate that. David Erdreich, our mini of the evening, and then after David Erdreich, we have Tommy Abercrombie, Amy D, Antoinette Payne, Shan, Craig, Ron, Al, JJ, and then Sandra. I'll just let you know the lineup or the upcoming lineup of the lineup.
Tommy's in there somewhere?
Yeah, I said his name for crying out loud. Tommy Abercrombie is right after David E. Right after him.
Oh, okay.
You got dig the wax out of you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm Dan.
I used to visit all the very gay places, those come what may places, where one relaxes on the axis of the wheel of life to get the feel of life from jazz and cocktails. The girls I knew had sad and sullen gray faces with distinct gay traces that used to be there. You could see where they'd been washed away by too many through the day, 12 o'clock tales. Then you came along with your siren song to tempt me to madness. I thought for a while that your poignant smile was tinged with the sadness of a great love for me. Ah, yes, I was wrong. Again, I was wrong. For life is lonely again, and only last year everything seemed so sure. Now life is awful again. A trough full of hearts could only be a bore. A week in Paris will ease the bite of it, and all I care is to smile in spite of it. I'll forget you, I will, while yet you are still burning inside my brain. Romance is mush, stifling those who strive. I'll live a lush life in some small dive, and there I'll be while I'll rot with the rest of those whose lives are lonely too. That was a liberal interpretation. Sorry about that.
Liberal?
Liberal.
Thank you.
Purse. Spectacular vernacular, common speech to span the breach, ascending rungs in common tongue, voice that speaks yet lips don't move, extrasensory fills the groove, multiplicity thoughts coalesce, integrate, do not digress, we bring together shocking sounds, differentiate object from ground, grand explanation, quaint express, think succinct, where more is less. Okay, I admit it, I'm in love with the earth. Sure, it's because I haven't had a lover for 18 years, and that last one was schlock. But I haven't forgotten what it was like to have an intimate lover of exceeding grace, connected like a strand of my own DNA, gentle ESP, pet names, eyes closed, eyes open. So when I smell a rose, when the chattering bewick's wren alights nearby on the lavender, neep, 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 neep. When the salamanders and their baby look up from the pot bottom, which hasn't moved for 2 years, I'm touched by the featured poet's soothing voice, the tiger swallowtail's jagged flight, cloud finger reaching under floating San Francisco as viewed from Mount Tamalpais, the princess. Kisses Angel Island, spiriting wings of gargoyles and peregrines alike. Snails have not found my baby carrots. My grandson, 4, tomorrow, actually last Sunday, has noticed my binocular vision as he thwips Spider-Man's colored webs into the rose garden future, while present collards ring my salad bowl. Sand fans past as a sidebar delta, shrinking as it goes hour by glass, fresh water as soul as sweet mint, verbena by lemon balm. This earth holds hollow aloe it is constantly healing human woe. Language slips between my fingers, words jumble. Letters coalesce, Scrabble tiles scattered on the board, reassemble the lynx, Pad the leopard, Bob the cat, sit, wait for the creek to settle. Pan out alluvial sand or free food 2 Tuesdays a month for seniors, strawberries in California as big as your thumb. Has the redwood been talking behind my back again? Are insurance and security staging a coup, propelling youth culture while hiding the aged under a freeway off-ramp? Glazing never-ending wars, so double-dipping tin-star generals can strut on Treasure Island, which is one of a number of places in the Bay Area where the slightly offhand, careless U.S. Navy has left pockets of radioactive glow, and cleanup always seems to miss those cigarette butts and Gatorade turtle chokers. I've given up trying to teach fellow residents recycling ethics. If nothing else, we are a nation of trash-talking hoarders and wasters. Food rotting in your fridge? Have you ever seen a woman driving a garbage truck? How would that impact her self-esteem and general hygiene? Does the man who empties the cans leave them splayed all over the driveway? Is Martin Luther King the only one who knew that driver's first name? I'm not done yet. Thank you. That's fun.
Like 1, 2 minutes plus. Crowley and the all-night images. Thank you, Tommy.
Okay. Televangelist.
Why?
His God is the green of the moneylenders. His gospel, according to Ayn Rand. He has the riches of Abraham. 3 private planes in his own airport.
Only 3?
A regular flight would be downright Philistine. The long tube with a bunch of demons, he calls it. His ministry requires the best food, wine, the most expensive clothes. A con man has to dress the part. This is dedicated to No Mas Muertes, which is the group on the border that leaves food and water for migrants crossing the desert. And particularly for Scott Warren, who is now on trial for giving people water and food. He faces felony charges up to 20 years in jail. He's on trial for giving food and water to migrants near the Sonoran Desert, where Border Patrol agents happily kick open water jugs, discard food left along the inhospitable migration routes, empty them, 3,000 gallons splattering a parched earth that swallows them greedily. No good Samaritans allowed, only the grim reaper who collects the remains of a 5-year-old in the heartless heat. The desert, the weapon of a government that cages children, separates families, seals off urban entry points, forces people to endure a waterless 40-mile stretch, and arrests those who don't see borders, only thirsty and hungry people.
Wow.
And I'm going to end with this year is the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots. And also,
you and Mike have a feature
yes,
coming up.
we're doing a feature about all that on July 3rd. And this is my 48th anniversary of being out of the closet. So this is a poem about when I did come out. When I came out, one of the things that happened as a result of my coming out to my family was that my godfather disowned me. And in Italian culture, your godparents are basically your parents. They are not just like, they are part of your family. And in Italian we say compare, in Southern Italian we say compare for godfather. So this is compare. Compare, you kissed me on both cheeks when you saw me. I was your little Tommaso, the son you never had. Compare, you called me after I came out to ask if it was true. You wanted me to lie. Compare, you said you'd never speak to me again, and you never did. I pretended it didn't hurt. Compare, I thought I hated you because you rejected me, but I really just wanted your approval. Compare, at Papa's wake, your wife and daughter walked past as if they didn't see me. Did you ask them to do that? Compare, I was once your favorite, like the roses in your yard, but I suddenly turned all thorns and no blooms. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Amy B. Thank you. Give her a round, please. And then we got Antoinette and then Shem. There we go. Everything is perfect. Everything is beautiful.
I'm going to read a little more prose again this week. This is called Sweetness. A girl runs out of the small adobe house, a box of powdered sugar cradled to her chest, fingers wrapped around a honey bear. Somewhere between 7 and 9, her roundness reminds me of my own adolescent lust for sugar, as she offers tourists toppings for their fresh hot fry bread made in her mother's oven. Some girls are lucky. Their yearning for and love for sugar doesn't affect the body so much as it affects their drive. These girls become cross-country runners in middle school, or captain of the dance team. But for those of us who lusted in secret, sugar became our shame, and it wore uncomfortably across our tummies. I was 7 when my mother and her mother caught me eating in the pantry. An old Sears catalog home from the 1930s, the pantry was a disjointed home for old red glass dishes, dusty bottles of brandy, and dry goods that smelled like the dirt just beyond the floor. My mother stored many things in that tiny pantry, but at 7 I believed anything behind the hollow core pine door was food. Rice, beans, cereal, last season's jam and beans. Food, nourishment, snacks to keep me occupied, treasures for consumption. But that morning, that my mother and grandmother opened the pantry door looking for oatmeal or shredded wheat or the old faux crystal cake stand, they found me picking away at the royal icing of a panoramic Easter egg. A tradition from the Victorian era, this grapefruit-sized hollowed egg of pressed granulous sugar, a window cut on one side, was home to a nature scene, a fawn exploring a meadow clearing. Perfect nourishment for a young doe in human clothes exploring the contents of the pantry. Sculpted and piped in rock-hard icing, I had no idea how old the egg was. It came out once a year as our centerpiece for a week or so, sometime around Easter. It was the only artifact of tradition in a home that buried its Catholic roots somewhere in the apple orchard out back. It was not easy to chip bits of archaic icing from the flowers scalloping the sugar egg, but patience is a virtue for those rewarded with sugar highs. At time I licked the egg itself, letting the sweetness seep into my tongue and turn my mouth to a soft, wet pucker. But in a moment the sweetness would fade, and I would want more. There was no end to my deep want for sugar. I enjoyed a life of secret eating, opening the tub of extra crispy Trader Joe's oatmeal raisin cookies, eating one for every minute of piano I pretended to practice. I kept the tub on top of our old upright piano, hoping my mother would never notice my lack of mastery of Suzuki Level 1 curriculum, correlating with the rate at which the house went through cookies. It was just my dad and I, the cookie eaters, and I regularly out-ate him 5-1. Afternoons were spent at the next-door neighbors where I gorged on graham crackers and Gatorade, occasionally enjoying the real treat of circus animal cookies, dedicated to routinely testing the theory that pink icing tastes better than white. The day in the pantry, they caught me sticky-handed. There was no laughter. No, silly girl, that's not food. Their wrath was met with my unwavering terror. I come from a long line of diabetic women. Some type 1, some type 2, and me somewhere in between. A pre-diabetic whose pancreas can't decide what it wants to do with insulin. Sugar is the work of the devil in our matriarchy. Do you know how your great-grandmother died? My grandma yelled. I shook my head, praying she would not continue. Did you know she lost a foot because of her diabetes? She went on, my mother on the verge of tears. So eating sugar meant losing hands, feet, limbs, and life. But in a life devoid of sweetness, it was hard to avoid the want for sugar. My mother grabbed the egg from my hands, placed it gingerly back in its box, and stowed it on the highest shelf, where there was no way my sticky hands could reach it. Aging, sugar played many roles. The want for sweetness continued. The oscillation between starving that deep need and desire, and the binging on sweetness, and the primal need and a fuck you to the women who told me it was forbidden, not because it was bad, but because I was a woman in a family of women whose bodies did not allow for sweetness. Sugar was the apple of knowledge that I couldn't resist. It is said that our want for sugar in the material world is a lack of sweetness for our soul life. How many of us turn to candy as children because our soul cries for sweetness from our mothers and fathers? Who potty trains with cookies and M&Ms? Who grows into adulthood terrified their lust for sweetness will make them unlovably fat or destroy their pancreas in the process? The young girl on the mesa runs back into her mother's house to grab a roll of paper towels, ready to serve up some sweetness. Iron rot corn, the food of our mothers, genetically modified sugar, makes us fat on emptiness of missing mother. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy B. All right. After that time, and Shannon and Greg and Hal. And George Washington's second cousin on his father's brother's. Never mind.
Yay. My niece, my favorite niece, had a birthday this
Happy
week.
birthday.
Yeah.
Tilt it down just a hair.
Okay.
Here's a. Hold
There
on.
you go.
Does anybody hear a squealing sound?
Maddie Rose, is it on?
A little more.
Yeah, it is, but I thought I heard a feedback sound.
Maddie Rhodes, 15 dreamscape, middle teen formative year, navigate your own life on your own best terms. Torah rests in soul, music makes her whole, trust yourself to know, even when you don't. Look within to where this babe took herself home under glittered dome in parts unknown. Breathe this now, take it in, your life so grand, with friends you stand. New precipice, mountain edge, girdle to step off, holding on to one rope with both hands. Slide it down, screaming all the way, stretch your wings, sure you're loved.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes, I texted that to her in the morning, and I am sure she was thinking, I hope this is not my birthday present. Then another. No path back from old, together alone, uphill stretch, then slide, secrets in view. Ambiguous purpose, roots deep, moist, under carefully demanding outcome. Soft palate eats peach, check her bite. leans forward onto counter, pours water at pork store. Time to switch lives, letting go of social rules, intentionality, project human extensions. Trust God, integrate open heart to us who are them, blind racist claims. Reason, sabotage, that whole breakup truth for a lie. Along came cars rushing, people talk through open windows. Crows call to us, bamboo rustles, drinks moist air. Thank you.
Thank you. Antoinette Payne, very generous and kind. Nobody picked that. Shem. It's Shem here.
Hi.
Hi. I wish it was.
I've been catering a lot lately, so I haven't been
Catering
able
to
to
who?
come. Yeah, catering to people who can pay for it. That's what I've been catering to.
All right, well.
All right, I'm gonna do one that I've done, but I haven't memorized, and it's fairly recent. It's called Glory Trainwreck. Failure is a flirtation with forever, a glorious train wreck of possibility and repetition. A possible glory train repeatedly wrecked. I possibly trained upon wretched repeater. Possible glory train wreck, repeat. Fragility apparently, more often than not, is merely the smeared mascara of manipulation compulsively applying itself. If you can successfully lie to yourself, you may be able to utter the words, "I'm not a liar," without the accompanying dizzy ring in the ears that conscious disingenuity often triggers. The foreground is a choice we make in every instant, whether we are aware of our awarenesses or not. The gap between good and bad is a hoary and fibrous filament. Can the real space between yes and no still be captured when the camera eye has been digitized? It's not so much what we don't say, but how we don't say it that gives us texture and nuance. The written word alone cannot fulfill the promise of a dancing stutter step of meaning making. There must be a voice that stops and starts in a particular way, manifest in the speaker-listener encounter in the mind's ear of the reader's imagination. The end of something is always the beginning of something else. Breath is and isn't, over and over again. Birth, death, and the in-between, like the shuddering snore of sleep apnea.
Oh! That's Shem. That's fine. And now the wondrous, magical, intelligent, gracious, and kind Mr. Greg Pond, to be followed by Hal and JJ, and then the Sanderell closing us out. Give him a round of applause. Come on! Jesus! And he has a special event coming up on the 9th.
Oh, yes.
So there's flyers for it right here, but he's going to speak on it at this moment.
Okay. On Sunday, June 9th, I will be reading from selections from my 2 new books, 4 a.m. Light and Dark, along with Dee Allen at Clarion Performing Arts Center in Chinatown, which is Clara Sue's place.
What time?
At 4 o'clock, 4 to 6. So if you're free in the neighborhood, I'd love to see you.
I'm going to be there. All right.
Don't look back. Don't look back. There's nothing to see behind you. It's all about the present. The future will come when it's due. Stay on your path. Keep your eyes in front. Only trust in the here and now. Don't stop to see what was. Don't get lost living in the past, even if you feel you must. Don't look back. Even if there's something you forgot to ask. Even if you think you can't go forth or can't move all that fast. Keep the faith. Stay the course. Trust the force. Don't look back. And I'm going to read this next poem and dedicate it to the memory of 5 transgender women who were murdered in Dallas within the last year, and no clues, no solving of any murders, nothing like that. This is entitled Newports and Stale Chanel. As night to morning after fell, she walked alone and smiled the smell of Newports and stale Chanel. Wrapped around in endangered skin, she bore claw marks from the original owner around her eyes and chin. She was so much older than she tried to be. No layers of sweet makeup could ease the creases in her face, with always at least 2 runs along the snake-shaped stocking seams. Thick black liner, lashes, fright wig slightly askew. Feet puffed and stuffed in pumps, too small by one size or 2. She seldom spoke, but when she did, her voice was thick, husky, and cigarette-soaked, barely audible, probably choked by the apple in her throat. Her nails, manicured and long, bore rough knuckles on hands that didn't belong to a lady refined beyond her wildest dreams. Blue smoke and flicked ashes, a Newport dangled in slanted fashion, slow burns into empty space, where she waits for the next offer, insult, or exchange that will help her get to B from A and help to pay the monthly rent, though barely making a dent to complete her transgender dreams. Polish and gloss from hand to mouth, she's lived this way for as long as it seems, transcending beyond gay to a much too made up during the day lady of the evening. Thank you.
That's great fun. He always kicks it, and now Hal Robbins, who also always kicks it, is my way of saying.
Well, there's always a first time.
There's always a first time.
I was thinking of saying some of Blake's auguries of innocence because of the mention of the deer there, but to approach the theme of the elk, I thought I would just talk about a prehistoric animal. Has anyone ever heard of a creature called Megaloceros here?
Megalosaurus?
No, that's a different prehistoric animal,
okay.
and Megaceros is also different. Megaloceros is also called the giant Irish elk. And for many years, the castles in Ireland had the incredible antlers of this creature on the wall. The antlers are 12 feet across, and the creature was 7 feet high at the shoulder. It's each antler weighed 300 pounds or so. There was a time when the major animals, the charismatic megafauna, as they're called, died off and people made houses out of their bones and remains because there were so many. An elk sheds its antlers every year and regrows them. In the season, the antlers come off, and then they grow throughout the year to a larger size. To grow an antler that weighs 300 pounds or a pair that weighs 600 pounds is an incredible amount of energy that the organism must produce. Furthermore, the huge weight on the head is definitely a disadvantage, particularly in a world full of giant wolves, bear dogs, a type of creature no longer extant, and other predators. It could not really hide in the woods. It could stand there and look good, as Ludeman was saying. This is of supreme importance. Nothing is more important than looking good. But before I explain that, the elk, when it sheds its antlers, sheds one at a time. So there would be a time when this creature was trying to maintain itself with its head twisted under the pull of one enormous antler, while the other had been cast away, and still had to defend itself in the world it lived in, a world where there were severe winters. But the reason it persisted is looking good is a value that nature respects. And this is the source of ornamentation in animals. All the fins and horns on dinosaurs, on fish, on everything. Because if you look good, you are the one that the female will choose to mate with and pass your heritage along. And this trumps everything else, even the severe inconvenience of the giant rack of antlers. And so that is the story of the giant Irish elk.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hal Robbins, enlightening us as always. And JJ, right? That's next. And then Sandra closing us out. And then we have these door prizes, which I like to call door prizes because they are door prizes. Go around, please. Come on, let's go here. Come on around.
Man with the suave style.
Suave.
Writer, I think you like this.
Well, what a pleasure being back with you this evening.
Yes, it is. Pleasure to see you.
You know, I was speaking with an older poet not long ago, and I was reminded that they're like T-model Fords, and all you have to do is put new wheels on them and you get me. Okay. At any rate, a salesman over a bottle of wine spoke pitiful lines of verse, smelling of a wish he left in despair, and with you his madness I will share. Without consent of any kind, I came into this world on the battlefield of love. Soon after, I was visited by an angel of beauty, who, without my knowing it, was a seductive and demanding beast, superior to my comparison. But wait, she began to haunt my entire daily existence. In spite of that, I would storm any barricade to indulge beauty's intoxicating fragrance. Wherever she waited, I would run, even to hell and back, just to celebrate her waiting and activating sensations. Nightly, I pray, the blanket of Turin will be found to help turn my pursuit of beauty into a lasting victory. Nothing can make me believe she will let me starve for the closure she alone can provide. As steward to her womanhood, I would pick up the sword of Samson to slay any beast threatening her survival. Whatever the ending, beauty will still be the spring virgin she always was to me. That adorable twin to my being, so bewitchingly wonderful, heaven alone could have compelled me to prostrate myself at her door so shamelessly until it opened. Thank you.
Hey, and now we have the Sanderell returning to close us out. These many fabulous door prizes I would like to tell you about, but I won't since they're coming up here and getting started. And you know, I had a joke I was going to tell, but I can't remember it. Actually, I can remember the joke, but not the punchline. So it's useless. Worse than useless.
Where do you want me?
Let them tell you because they're going to frame you.
Out of the way.
I've already been framed.
You want me in here? You tell me when.
Why don't you stand behind those?
Okay,
Why
I'll
don't you
stand
stand behind
behind
those two and
really
those two come up?
tall
You move up. You move up. David, a little bit this way.
You're not going to see me. I have to see his.
Oh, all right, well then. Okay, so you a
And,
little
you
bit
know,
this way get you in.
When you feel it, bro.
A little.
When I feel it, bro. Okay.
When you feel it.
All right, yeah. That's good. I can see everything.
As everybody.
I can see clearly now.
All right, I'm going to try to get through these. There go murderers. There go murderers of Columbia. Head of the body USA fell off from malignancy of thought, action, inaction, laws of lawlessness. There goes the murder of the nation. USA disguised as democracy as other countries claim communism, when in fact there are no democracy, communist governments, just totalitarian dictatorships. USA murdered and cradled, citizens never noticed what they are today. Lost, bereft, stripped of thought, care. Memory, what memory? Everything is new in USA. Those who see, hear, taste are those who receive the scorched earth policy USA's so fond of propagating in lies that keep us free. Rape, disease, war, murder, delivered in the minds of Homo sapiens. Time to find human beings, the one who think 180 from Homo sapiens, killers of thought for their purposes. USA enjoys its mass murderers, then forgets, only to get excited, upset at the next one. There goes the murder of Columbia, where the light went out soon as it was lit, where body USA decomposes before us, faking its steak rather than putrid flesh. You're dying, stinking USA. The world smells you, gagging on your democracy, vapors, violence. They used to think one way, now they've learned the truth. We are Europe's empire's ugly stepchild. USA's ugly so long forgot what ugly is. May they stop coming to the shores, knowing they come to an ugly place in time. World will eventually tire of ugly, just not today.
It's not today.
All right. Born. Jazz, barn and fire. Rage, love on lands of evil. Turtle Island. Plugged in against many in disapproval, as with folk, as it is the music of protest love. Sometimes hormones are loud, but quiet as a Miles Davis ballad of love, lost, feminine in dream time. You need the clarion voice no matter what your music words. Make music as you would make love. Make love because you understand the beauty of it. Let the didgeridoo take you to dream time. We are bereft to We are bereft to equate the beauty given by the Aboriginal, perhaps returning stolen land to begin. They are us, we are them. Different cultures, ways of being, to instruct all humanity, those parts that make us whole. Many parts, one family. Stop your brutishness. Miles plays music with tinge of days gone by. The good, the bad, the ugly. You know the story of us. And lastly, a very short one. Bit of wordplay here. Dealing. Dealing, feeling, sealing. Reeling, fleeting, freezing. Believing, conceiving, achieving, revealing, deceiving, receiving, hauling, crawling, falling, calling, bawling, galling, angling, tangling, mangling, laboring, favoring, savoring, fighting, citing, writing, inciting, inviting, delighting, hibernating, liquidating, liberating, at least on most days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you.
Yes, well, you have thunder.
Prizes. All right, door prizes, ladies and gentlemen.
Vincent and the Earthman, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right. So when you do come up here, remember there are several sets of flyers. This is an art release party and community celebration Saturday, June 15th. This is what Greg Pond was talking about, the information for that. And this is Tell It on Tuesday, exploring the potential of individual stories at the Marsh. There's more information there, just so you know, and thank you. Thank you and thank you. I have a present for you, but I broke it. I'm going to fix it and bring it next week.
Okay.
Just so you know. And it's from Tommy, so I had to apologize.
Well, I'm glad you broke it first, and I don't have to
that
worry
way
about breaking
you
it
don't have to
myself.
All right.